Hi everyone, my name is David White and I'm the Content Marketing Director at Connected Free. Today I want to do a quick vlog on social listening. So for anybody who has followed me on Twitter, seen me on LinkedIn, or even watched our previous vlog, you will have heard me talk about social listening. It's something that I talk about quite a lot. It's just something that interests me, and it's something that I've seen deliver a lot of results since I've been using it over the past few years. So for those that don't know what social listening is, it's essentially looking at social media, looking at editorial publications and articles, looking at forums, looking at reviews, even looking at comments on articles, and finding out what conversations people are having. So for example, you could put in your brand and you could see who is mentioning your brand across all of them different channels that I just mentioned. And then you could also find out what they're talking about, if the sentiment is positive or negative, what similar topics the people who are talking about you also talk about, most popular time of day, etc. There's actually quite a lot of information you can get from it. Now, I run social listening for a few different reasons, and I want to just go through a few of them today to explain how you could potentially use it to benefit your digital marketing strategies. So in the last vlog, I actually touched on how you can use social listening to find new links. By that, I mean you can input your brand or your campaign name or whatever campaign it is that you're talking about, like the surrounding keywords, and you can see people who've talked about you, and if they haven't added a link, you can then go through and do link reclamations. It's a great way of finding new pieces of coverage and either recording that link or, if relevant, chasing a new link. But what I really want to talk to you all about today is how you can use social listening for brand awareness, thinking of new campaign ideas or new content ideas. Doesn't have to be just for PR, it's really good for kind of helping your on-site content strategy, and also how to track brand sentiment. So point one, brand awareness. You're going to want to know how much your brand's getting talked about compared to your competitors. Super simple, but also really effective. Input your brand, input your competitors, and find out where people are talking about you. It will pull so much insight that you can use. For example, competitor A may be getting talked about a lot on forums, okay? And that may be kind of making the results of your brand awareness fluctuate a bit, but you want to have a look at them forums. Is the conversation that's happening positive or is it negative? If it's positive, then think of a strategy that you can then get in front of the people who are talking about them with your brand. If it's negative, learn from that. What are people saying about that brand, and how can you avoid it, or how can you use it in your marketing material to maybe answer any questions that they've got? Have a look as well at the channels. So if there is a competitor doing really well on Twitter and you're not doing as well on Twitter, then think of a strategy to increase your brand awareness across that channel. No, there's a kind of note to make here. Not all kind of channels are relevant for all brands, so don't be on a channel just because you think you have to be. But if Twitter was relevant to you as a brand and you can see your competitors are getting a lot more share of voice on there, then the tool will show you that information, and then you can sit down with your team internally or your agencies or whoever it is that you work with and work out a strategy of how you target that. It's also completely live, so it will show you your brand awareness compared to your competitors across different platforms or overall, and it will show you it every hour, every second of every day. So if suddenly somebody starts talking about your competitors and you can see that loads of people are talking about it over the past 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, whatever it is, then you might want to react. You might want to stop that in its track and become the most talked about brand instead. Again, social listening gives you that level of insights and gives you something to track brand awareness. The second point is how social listening can think of content ideas for you. Really interesting data you can get from social listening on this. So if, for example, I am a brand that's selling sofas and furniture, then I may want to put input into social listening my competitors and my brand, or maybe I want to input questions or topics that people who I'm selling to are asking. So things like corner sofas, things like how to clean sofas, pet-friendly sofas, etc. Input all that information. It will again show you where people are talking about that, when they're talking about that, but what it will also do for you is cluster up what it is that they're talking about, what it is that they're asking, and similar topics that the people who are talking about this are also engaging with. So if you see that there is a huge conversation around pet-friendly sofas, then you might want to put some kind of content on site to answer the questions that people are asking. If you see that people who are engaging with the search terms that you have input into social listening are also engaging with, random example, like Saturday night TV, then maybe you want to start thinking about PR campaigns that target that kind of story, only if relevant, obviously, or maybe when you're thinking of when to get your TV ad placed or whatever, it can help you understand how to get the biggest impact out of the activity that you're running. But ultimately, social listening will give you a really detailed view, what people are asking, when they're asking, and what else they're asking. As soon as you have that information, you can take a content strategy and put it on site to make sure you're answering any pending or current customers' questions. Point 3 is sentiment. Okay, so every social tool has a kind of like an automated sentiment analysis, so positive, negative, neutral. They can also break it down into emotions as well, so joy, anger, hate, love, etc. You can train the social listening platforms to be as accurate as possible. And I think that's the first thing to know. Like if you input your brand, for example, if you are a company that helps people with debt, you will not, the social tool might naturally say that every conversation around you is negative, because they will associate the word debt with a negative connotation, when actually what you're doing is trying to get people out of debt. So it's completely opposite. Because it's automated though, they may say it's negative. So the first thing you want to do is you want to train up the social listening platform to understand what it is that you do, what it is that you're trying to achieve, and what subjects or keywords people will talk about when they're talking about your brand. And it will then start tracking, again, over each individual platform, people who are talking about you in a positive or negative way. So if you see, for example, that people on Facebook really love you, start talking about you positively, then maybe you want to focus on that platform. But again, you might look at reviews and see that loads of people are talking about you in a really negative way, and then you're going to think to yourself, well, how can I do a review strategy to tackle that? Okay, what do I need to change as a business in order to make people go from negative to positive? And again, the great thing about social listening is this is completely live. So not only is it over multiple channels such as reviews, forums, editorial, comments, etc., it's completely live. So if you've just launched a big campaign across TV, across social, across PR, and then suddenly you start seeing a load of positive mentions, you know that what it is you're doing is working and it is delivering more than maybe what it was intended for, if it was links, if it was sign-ups, etc., whatever it is. But also, it works in the complete opposite way. If suddenly you start to see that people are talking about you in a negative way, it gives you the ability to react quickly. It gives you the ability to say, okay, in the past 2 hours, suddenly there's been a negative post on Twitter and people are starting to engage with that and also relate to it. What can we do? What can we do to stop that in its tracks and change that from a negative to a positive? If you're not running any social listening, you're completely running the risk of that happening. But like I say, when it comes to sentiment analysis, make sure you train the social listening tools. Just because it's automated doesn't mean it's accurate. But most social listening tools will allow you to do that. I suppose it's worth just finally touching on which social listening tools you can use. So at Connected Free, we use a tool called Linkfluence. However, I have also used Meltwater in the past. I've used Brandwatch in the past. I've used Crimson Hexagon in the past. I think Crimson Hexagon and Brandwatch have now merged together. In short, there is a load of social listening tools out there. A quick Google search will allow you to see them, and then obviously I would recommend getting a trial and then just choosing whichever one suits your needs the best. But I've also written a blog post on it, which I will link to in this video in the description. So do make sure you check that out. Just to kind of wrap up though, social listening is a hugely powerful tool, not only for brand awareness, not only for thinking of content and PR campaigns, and not only for tracking positive sentiment. You can use it for a variety of different kind of ways and for different reasons. So I would recommend that anybody who's watching this video, if you're not running social listening, just make sure you sign up for a trial, because I can guarantee you it will help you and your job in some way. And what have you got to lose from a 30-day trial? Anyway, thanks for listening. If you have any questions or comments, just drop them in the comments below, or reach out on Twitter or through our website. But thanks for listening, and stay safe.